In this first step, let's take a look at how you can publish your prototype to the web. If you're following along with me, you'll want to have step 1, publish a prototype in the collaboration practice file, visible on your design canvas. You don't need to have the layers panel or the libraries panel open. I am in prototype mode right now. And you can see that here in the modes on the upper left hand side, you can switch there if you like to. Here on the right hand side, I have 8 artboards. I want to use all of these artboards throughout this tutorial. So let me give you a little bit of the backstory for how you might use them with your stakeholders as you collaborate. In this set of 4 artboards, what I've done is designed an onboarding tutorial experience. So the idea is if a user comes to the landing page and isn't sure how to navigate the site, after about 3 seconds, this will automatically transition to the set of 3 artboards, where the auto animate transition goes between each of the tiles and gives them guidance for how to navigate the site. At any time, they can come in and skip the tutorial. For the most part, I'm leveraging a lot of the skills I show you in some of the earlier tutorials, along with a few more bells and whistles. So let's go ahead and take a look at this flow that we are familiar with it. For that, in prototype mode, I'm going to click on the first artboard in the sequence. And then in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to bring up the desktop preview window. Here, in the desktop preview window, I have the first artboard that I designed. Now, after about 3 seconds, if the user doesn't click to start shopping the collection, it does a time transition to my tutorial where using auto animate. It's now transitioning between each of those tiles to give the user more information. Now, I set the time pretty fast so that you could understand what I've done here. But you could slow it down if the user was actually reading these cards. At any time, the user can step out of the onboarding tutorial by clicking on the skip tutorial, which take them into the main workflow. So let's assume for a moment I want to test this out. First, with my client, to make sure that I've actually designed the experience that they wanted, I'll go ahead and close out the desktop preview. Next thing is here to prototype mode. I want to let XD know which of the artboards on my canvas I want to publish up. I can indicate that by coming to the first artboard in the flow is landing artboard. Notice to the left, there is a grayed out icon. It's actually a house icon. And if I click it, it will become blue. Above that, I now have the ability to assign a label to the flow that I have just clicked on. Now, the way this works is any artboard that's linked to the board that has the home screen is going to be considered part of the flow. And if I zoom out a bit, you can see that all 8 artboards in one way or another are linked to the first artboard. I'll go ahead and give this a name so I remember which flow I was looking at, and we'll call this boarding tutorial. Now that I have that named, I'm ready to publish it up to the web to show to my clients. What I will do is come here to the upper left hand side to the application and click on the share mode, like the difference between design and prototype. The UI stays pretty much the same. Here on the right hand side in the properties inspector, I get specific options that allow me to share this prototype in different ways. So I can see on the canvas all of the artboards that are linked to that flow. Notice that these artboards here on the left weren't linked, so they are not included. This is a great way for you to make sure that you are publishing just the artboards that you want if you have a rather large site. I'll come here under the link settings, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with the name that I defined on boarding tutorial. So that's based on the flow that I defined here. In the view settings drop down, there are lots of options. And you are welcome to explore them by kind of clicking on the info. This I button as you change out the options in the drop down. For now, I want to go with a design review. So I'm going to stick with that default. Under link access, I can control this, so that anyone that get the URL can look at it. Let's say I put it on a public website and I want to share it broadly. I can limit it to only invited people. So that can be people that have Adobe IDs that I invite by their Adobe ID email. If you got a client that doesn't license any Adobe products, they can create a free Adobe ID that they can use to view your prototypes. They don't need to license the Adobe software. Anyone with a password would basically just put a password on the front door. In that case, I share the link freely and make sure that they enter the password in order to see that prototype. I'm going to stick with anyone with a link for now, and I will go ahead and create the link. XD is going to go through, gather these artboards and publish it to a website. When the work is done, again, an indication of when the last time was that I published that link. I can see the URL a bit here. Notice to the right, I can copy that link to the clipboard. If I want to embed this prototype on a website of my own, I can click on the link here on the right, which gives me embedded code to embed it into a web page. And that fully interactive prototype will appear on the page. Pretty handy depending on what you're looking to do. In step 2, let's jump into a web browser and take a look at the prototype experience.